Your salary just went up by 3%, which means you got paid less. That's not a joke. That's inflation running at 4%. Your paycheck grew in dollars. Your money shrunk in what it can buy. And that's just one of 8 forces working on your money right now. Forces most people can't name. These forces are invisible. They set the price of your rent. They quietly erode your savings every year. They determine whether your raise was actually a raise. Before we start, I sourced this from a bunch of different places. If you spot something that seems off, please drop a correction in the comments. Part 1. Scarcity and Opportunity Cost. Why every decision has a hidden price tag, even the free ones. Right now, you have 24 hours today. You could work more hours, study something new, sleep, spend time with people you care about, go to the gym, scroll your phone. You can't do all of them. Not having enough of something to do everything you want is called scarcity. Even the wealthiest person on earth can't buy more time. They can't be in 2 cities at once. They can't eat 2 dinners at the same table. Every resource, time, money, attention, energy, has limits. And every time you run into a limit, you make a choice. When you choose one thing, you're also choosing to give up something else. The real cost of any decision isn't just what you paid. It's the value of the best thing you didn't do. Economists call this opportunity cost. Let's make it concrete. Say you have $5,000 saved up. You decide to blow it on a vacation. The dollar cost is $5,000. Clear, simple. But the opportunity cost, that's the $5,000 sitting in an index fund for 10 years, growing to maybe $11,000 at an 8% annual return. Now try it with a smaller example. Your boss offers you a one-time chance to work overtime Saturday for an extra $200. You say no. You had plans. Was that a free choice? Sure. Did it cost you anything? Also yes. $200 plus whatever that $200 could have become. Opportunity cost is everywhere. Job offer you didn't take, degree you didn't finish, neighborhood you didn't move to. Every single one of those had a price. You just didn't see it on a receipt. The most expensive decisions in your life will be the ones you didn't realize were decisions. Part 2. Trade and Comparative Advantage. Why doing less can actually make you more. 1 hour of the doctor's time spent scheduling costs the practice $400 in unbilled appointments. 1 hour of the receptionist's time doing the same job costs $20 in salary. The right question isn't, who's better at this? The right question is, what does it cost each person to do it? This is comparative advantage, and it's why trade exists. Not just between 2 people, but between entire countries. The US doesn't grow most of its own bananas. Brazil doesn't make most of its own microchips. Both countries could do both things, but it would be incredibly expensive. Instead, each country does what it's relatively cheaper for them to do. Then they trade. Both end up with more than if each had tried to do everything alone. This plays out in your own life constantly. You could change your own oil. You could file your own taxes. You could build your own website. Maybe you even could do them well. But is that the best use of your time? Part 3. Supply and Demand. Why prices are never random. Why did your rent go up this year? Most people say, greedy landlords, or the economy, or just everything is more expensive. Let's walk through it. Say the number of apartments in your city stays flat. No new buildings, but more people keep moving in, looking for a place to live. What happens? More people. Same apartments. Every landlord suddenly has 10 applicants for each unit. They can afford to ask for more, so they do. That's demand outpacing supply. And that gap is why rent went up. This is the core mechanic behind almost every price in your life. Supply is how much of something sellers are willing to offer at a given price. Demand is how much buyers want at that price. When you put them together, you get a price where buyers and sellers can make a deal. Now you understand why gas prices spike every summer, why your salaries stagnated for years, too many workers, not enough jobs competing for them, why tech starting salaries are high, not enough people with those skills yet. The invisible hand of the market, a phrase Adam Smith used in The Wealth of Nations, is the idea that when millions of people act in their own self-interest, prices adjust automatically, without anyone coordinating it. Adam Smith described this over 240 years ago. It took economists another century to formalize it. Part 4. Inflation. If you're planning to retire in 30 years, and you have $500,000 saved today, that $500,000 will have the purchasing power of roughly $206,000 in today's dollars, assuming 3% average inflation. Half your savings, quietly erased by time. Where does inflation come from? 3 main causes. 1. Demand pull inflation. Too many dollars chasing too few goods. When consumers have more money to spend, from stimulus checks, wage growth, easy credit, and the economy can't produce goods fast enough to keep up, prices go up. Classic supply and demand, economy-wide. 2. Cost push inflation. When it costs more to make things, that cost gets passed on. Oil prices go up. Every product that needs to be shipped or manufactured gets more expensive. Supply chains break, components get scarce, prices rise across the board. 3. Too much money in circulation. When a government prints money faster than the economy grows, each dollar in existence buys a smaller slice of the same total output. The extreme version of this, hyperinflation, is what happened in Zimbabwe in 2008, when monthly inflation hit 79.6 billion%. People were carrying literal stacks of $100 trillion bills to buy a single loaf of bread. In normal times, mild inflation is actually the goal. The Federal Reserve, the U.S. central bank, officially targets 2% per year. Slow, predictable, controlled inflation keeps the economy moving. It encourages people to invest and spend rather than just hoard cash. They call this healthy. The danger zone is when inflation breaks out of control, or when it hits some parts of the economy much harder than others. Right now, inflation is why your groceries feel more expensive even when your income went up. The math is working against you quietly, in the background, every single day. Inflation doesn't rob you all at once. It just takes a little bit every single year for the rest of your life. Part 5. Money, banks, and interest rates. You probably already know what an interest rate is in a general sense. You borrow money. You pay it back with extra. That extra is interest. But let's talk about what it actually costs you, because most people wildly underestimate it. Say you buy a $400,000 house. At a 3% mortgage rate over 30 years, your monthly payment is around $1,686. Total paid over the life of the loan, $606,960. At a 7% mortgage rate for the same house, same term, monthly payment, $2,661. Total paid, $957,960. Same house, same 30 years, same loan size. The difference in total cost, over $350,000. From one number changing. That number, the interest rate, is shaped by the Federal Reserve's benchmark rate. A little information about the Fed. The Fed was created in 1913 after a string of bank panics wiped out ordinary people's savings with no warning. The idea: give the government a tool to stabilize the economy. It took several financial catastrophes, each one erasing people's life savings, before anyone decided a central bank might be useful. Then they built one. Then there were still financial crises, but fewer. Their job is to set the federal funds rate, the base interest rate the entire U.S. economy builds on top of. When the Fed raises rates, mortgages get more expensive. Car loans get more expensive, credit card debt becomes more crushing, businesses pay more to borrow, some projects become unprofitable and get canceled. Spending slows, the economy cools. When the Fed cuts rates, borrowing gets cheap. People buy homes and cars and take on debt. Businesses invest in new things. Spending rises. The economy heats up. This is called monetary policy. Interest rates aren't abstract. They're the rent you pay to use money that isn't yours. And when the rent goes up, everyone pays more. 12 people, 8 meetings a year. Every mortgage, car loan, and credit card in America feels the result. Part 6. GDP. Every quarter, the government releases a number. It's reported everywhere. Politicians use it. Investors trade on it. News anchors read it. The number is GDP, Gross Domestic Product. The total value of all final goods and services produced in a country in a given period. When it goes up, the story is, the economy is growing, things are good. The US GDP was around $27.4 trillion in 2024. That is a genuinely enormous number, and it tells you something real. The economy is producing at a massive scale. But here's the problem. If GDP is the only scoreboard politicians watch, policy gets built on broken data. A factory pollutes a river. The government hires a company to clean it up. That cleanup cost gets added to GDP because money was spent. The damage to the river? Not subtracted. Pollute a river, get paid to clean it. GDP goes up. Interesting way to measure progress. Here's what else doesn't count. Unpaid care for aging parents. Volunteer work. A community tutoring kids for free. All productive, real, valuable. An economy where 10 people own everything and 1 million people earn almost nothing can still post record GDP growth. The scoreboard looks great. Most people aren't feeling it. This matters because when politicians watch only GDP, they miss the gap between the economy is fine and most people's lives are fine. And here's what GDP misses most: where the money comes from in the first place. To run roads, schools, the military, fire departments, someone has to pay. That's where taxes come in. Part 7. Government and taxes. Nobody loves paying taxes. But here's the actual reason they exist. Not the civic lesson version, the economic logic version. Think about a neighborhood park. Everybody in the neighborhood benefits from it. Clean, maintained, safe. Now ask, would anybody pay for it voluntarily? Some might. Enough to maintain it? Probably not. Because the rational move, if you're being perfectly self-interested, is to let someone else pay. You still get to use the park. Your money stays in your pocket. Economists call this the free rider problem. When people can benefit from something without paying for it, too few people pay, and the thing either doesn't get built or falls apart. Roads, public schools, the military, clean water, sewage systems, fire departments. These are things everyone uses and benefits from, but they're also things the private market won't reliably provide on its own because no single company can capture enough profit from them. So the government steps in. Everyone contributes, everyone benefits. It's not charity, it's a coordination solution. When the government spends more than it takes in through taxes, that gap is a budget deficit. Stack up deficits year after year, and you get a national debt, the total amount the government owes. The US national debt right now, over $36 trillion. That number grows by roughly $1 million every 30 seconds. There's a live counter at usdebtclock.org. It is not relaxing to watch. Is that a crisis? Honestly, economists can't agree. Some say the raw number doesn't matter as much as whether the government can afford the interest payments. Others say it's heading somewhere bad and nobody wants to say it out loud. What everyone does agree on, someone will eventually have to deal with it. And that someone is probably watching this video right now. Nobody wants to pay for the park. Everybody wants to use the park. That's why taxes exist. Part 8. Behavioral economics. The entire framework we've walked through, scarcity, supply and demand, inflation, interest rates, assumes something about you. It assumes you're rational, that you weigh costs and benefits, gather information, and make the decision that's best for your long-term interest. Behavioral economics is the field that noticed. You don't do that. A few examples. Anchoring. You walk into a car dealership. The first car you see is priced at $55,000. The next one is $38,000. It feels like a deal, even if $38,000 is still overpriced for what you're getting. Your brain anchored to the first number and judged everything relative to it. That's not a bug you can fix by being smarter. It's a feature of how human cognition works. The sunk cost fallacy. You're 90 minutes into a movie. It's terrible. You stay to the end because you already spent the time, but the 90 minutes are gone whether you leave or not. The only real decision is the next hour worth spending here? Rationally, leave. Emotionally, you stay. This exact pattern explains why people stay in bad jobs, bad relationships, bad investments. The past cost feels like a reason to keep going. It isn't. Hyperbolic discounting. You genuinely want to start saving for retirement. You also want the thing in front of you right now. When the choice is $100 today versus $110 next month, most people take $100 today. A 10% return in 1 month is incredible by any investment standard, but most people still take the immediate cash. Now ask, $100 in a year versus $110 in 13 months. Suddenly, the extra $10 seems worth waiting for. Same math, different emotional weight. The future feels abstract until it's right in front of you. The endowment effect. Once you own something, it becomes worth more to you than it was before you owned it. Research shows people demand significantly more to give up something they own than they'd pay to acquire the exact same thing in the first place. It's why selling anything, a house, a car, shares in a startup, feels harder than buying. Why does this matter beyond being interesting? Because every store, bank, and tech platform you interact with has an entire team of people who know this stuff, and they're using it. Charm pricing. $9.99 instead of $10. Subscription auto-renewals. Limited time countdowns. Free trial periods designed to capture you at the moment of low friction. These aren't accidents. They're systems built around the gap between how you think you decide and how you actually decide. The gap is a market. Someone is selling into it. Understanding behavioral economics doesn't make you immune to it, but it gives you a second to notice when it's happening. And that second is everything. The textbook assumes you're a calculator. Behavioral economics noticed you're a human. So did every company selling you something. Let's bring it back to the start. Over your lifetime, roughly $2.4 million will pass through your hands. 8 forces are working on that money right now, whether you know their names or not. Scarcity. Every choice you make has a hidden cost you never see on the receipt. Comparative advantage. Doing less of the wrong things leaves room for more of the right ones. Supply and demand. Prices aren't random. They're signals. You can learn to read them. Inflation. Your money is losing value right now, quietly, in the background, every year. Interest rates. One number set by 12 people shapes every major financial decision of your adult life. GDP. The official scoreboard for the whole economy. It misses a lot. Government and taxes. Some problems nobody volunteers to solve, so someone has to make them. Behavioral economics. The system that knows your brain better than you do and charges accordingly. None of this stops because you didn't know the names. It runs whether you're watching or not. Which one of these 8 do you think has cost you the most money without you realizing it?